Nobody owes you anything, boo. If they can't handle you at your worst, they don't deserve you at your best. Right. Hi cousins, I'm Shamaya. It's like papaya, except it's not. And this is Plot Twist Please. Welcome to my humble abode, welcome to my couch. This is a place where I like to talk about pop culture in order to make our brains a little cozier. Oh, don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you like what I'm saying to you. But if you don't, you can just watch. It's really fine. What I mean is I don't care. I don't care if people like me. I only care if they don't like me. I have to be so fast in filming this because I gotta get my coin in the artist world. We'll see what this video is gonna be like. Today we're talking about self-care and individualism. Specifically, how to combat this trend of self-care in the internet space. Cause I just wonder sometimes, like, is it helping us? Are we any less mentally sick? I wanted to talk about this because I feel like there's this online trend of like saying really flippant quotes like, if you wanted to, you would, or if they don't add to your life, subtract yourself from theirs, or sentiments similar to that like sound really good in bite-sized increments. They appeal to us in some way initially, but when you boil it down, like when you actually break down what these things are saying, it doesn't actually make a lot of sense and it isn't actually useful in real life. I see this trend of only being a community with people who don't make your life difficult and only create positive experiences. And, I understand life is becoming really difficult right now. It's seeming like impending doom is near, but these popular phrases that sound really good for the moment, I do wonder if they're gonna just make us end up really lonely. Because if we, at the end of the day, are just pushing ourselves away from people who don't ignite positive experiences all of the time, then I wonder also how often we're putting ourselves in uncomfortable positions enough to experience growth. Honestly, I have some gripe with those kinds of sentiments, and in this video, I hope to explain why. First of all, let's talk about loneliness. Now, loneliness is a killer. There is no substitute for human interaction. We need people, or animals, maybe, little soft bunnies or, cute little turtles. Either way, we do need companionship as humans. This has been studied in neurology and psychology for, just for a really long time. Complete isolation is not healthy, and that doesn't have to mean partnership either. That doesn't have to be being in a romantic relationship with somebody. Even though we would be led to believe otherwise based on all of these images in TV and media, but I digress. So let's talk about this self-care era, or soft life era we're in. I'm always so confused when people say that being self-actualized causes loneliness, because it shouldn't, in my opinion. Self-care shouldn't mean I'm going to isolate myself from everybody in order to be in my little cubicle, or in order to do my bubble baths and my meditation and my journaling completely alone forever. But I do think that is the way the public consciousness is kind of skewing. Like, I do think that that's what people interpret self-care as a lot of the time, when actually people help you grow. People help you heal. You heal from people by spending time around people. It's really this wild cycle that you can only heal by putting yourself in the similar situations. Well, okay, maybe not exactly similar situations that you were harmed in, but you do have to take risk and risk getting harmed again. Like, that's the thing. That's the real, oh God, why is it such a vicious cycle? And I think there's this misconception that healing is supposed to feel good. Healing sucks. It's easy as it is to just shut everyone else out so no one else can see our flaws, so we don't have to be embarrassed about the dumb things we said and done. It's not always helpful. Growing is embarrassing. It's embarrassing, okay? Doing self-work does not feel good. It sucks to look in the mirror and see everything you've done wrong and see all the people in your past who you've hurt, or the people you've let down, even if that person is yourself. But at least you wouldn't have to do it alone. Of course, there's a balance when it comes to self-reflection and feeling your feelings. But one of the biggest mistakes that I've made in the past is to view personal growth as something that happens behind closed doors, or something for you to later be like, ta-da, and you never saw the process, but you just saw the ta-da, and I am now perfect, therefore I am now worthy of love. It doesn't work like that. And another thing about feeling your feelings, so if you are in like the psychology, self-help space, or you've been in therapy before, maybe you're familiar with the phrase feeling your feelings. Basically, it's the notion that encourages you to, instead of bottling up all your feelings over an extended period of time in order to, quote, get over something, or in order to stop feeling terrible, it's the notion that you should instead welcome those emotions, even if they suck to experience, even if they're, quote, negative emotions, even though I don't believe in negative or positive emotions. I just believe in emotions. So something that doesn't necessarily feel great, it is encouraged to feel those feelings in the psychology field, because what it's actually doing is allowing you to heal and allowing you to process those things and move forward. But you can't move forward without feeling those feelings. It's just a step you can't skip, unfortunately. But I think what is missing when we talk about feeling our feelings is the acknowledgement that sometimes your feelings can get really dark, like really dark. And if you don't have the tools to unravel those feelings or to be able to get out of that state, you could be putting yourself in a really potentially re-traumatizing situation or further damaging situation. If you're just feeling your feelings and you don't know what to do after that, or you're not in an environment where you are tended to or cared for while you're feeling those feelings, or you don't know how to do that for yourself, or you don't have someone who is licensed or who is equipped to do so to guide you through those emotions, you could be putting yourself in harm's way sometimes, depending on your mental illness, depending on who you are. Like, it could just get really dicey in there. Especially because some people, when they end up feeling their feelings based on trauma that they've experienced, they end up re-traumatizing themselves or reliving those traumatic experiences, which is not always helpful.
Hi, Editor Shamaya here. I just wanted to point out that feelings themselves are not dangerous, but certain thought patterns can be, and re-traumatizing yourself and feeling a feeling is not the same. Just wanted to make that clear.
I don't expect everybody on the internet to be conscious of how their words can be taken out of context or utilized in ways that they never imagined or that they didn't foresee. But I do think that people should be more careful when taking advice from the internet. Even this video, I think always take everything with a grain of salt. You know your body, you know your brain better than anybody else, and just always practice caution when taking advice from somebody online. You can't forget about that part, because some of our brains are spicier than others, you know? Some of us got some paprika dashed in there, and feeling our feelings leads down a dark, dark hole. Another notion that never really made sense to me is the notion of this person doesn't deserve you. I think that this sentiment is usually relayed to somebody who can appear to be, quote, out of somebody's league. And I think being, quote, out of somebody's league can have different meaning for literally every single person. Like people have different associations with that phrase. And so for some people it can mean somebody being more attractive, what the general population might think in terms of, white beauty standards, than their partner. Some people view it as someone being more traditionally intelligent than their partner, having more degrees than their partner, making more money than their partner, as someone having more emotional intelligence than their partner. So how that phrase is defined really depends on the person who's using it. When it is used, I found, to describe somebody who seems to be mentally healthier than their partner, I think that gets a little dicey. And honestly, I do think that's the way that people use it most of the time. Like, I think when someone says, oh, you're too good for them, or they don't deserve you, what they are alluding to is this: that person who you're with is not mentally healthy enough to deserve you. Meaning, someone can be mentally ill enough to not deserve to be in a relationship. That's kind of what it's giving. And whether that's what it is intended to mean or not, that is what it sounds like. That is the kind of sentiment it is alluding to. And that is the kind of ethos that is harmful. That is harmful. Because then what you're saying is that somebody can be mentally sick in the head to the point where they don't deserve romantic love. I don't know, guys. And I used to be the kind of person to be like, well, I don't know, maybe some of this still rings true, maybe part of this still rings true. But I used to say over and over again, some people deserve to be in romantic relationships, some people don't. I think I still to some degree stand by that, because I think some people in romantic relationships, if they are causing physical harm or intentional harm to someone else in order to control them, in order to brainwash them, or in order to manipulate them, they should not be in a romantic relationship. Deserve is still hard for me. That word deserve is still hard for me to put in there because deserve can mean so many things. But I don't think they should be in a romantic relationship. That's just me. The word deserve, though, for me is hard because what it is, in order to put the word deserve in there, you have to believe intrinsically, like fundamentally, that some people deserve other things that certain people do not. And then I feel like how you define the group of people who deserve that thing, as opposed to how you define the people who don't deserve that thing, can be very telling. People used to think that like black people didn't deserve to like be paid for labor. You know what I mean? So the word deserve is so hard because it means that you as an individual are deciding what somebody deserves. You are deciding what should be a value. I don't know. It's weird. It's like, it's almost taking like this kind of God complex and putting yourself in a position of power to be able to decide who deserves what. And who are you? Who are we? Who are any of us? Like, nobody deserves anything. Nobody deserves anything, to be frank. Everyone's terrible. Nobody deserves anything. But also at the same time, people deserve to be cared for. Like, people deserve to have resources to mental health. And when you don't have those things, of course you're going to turn out worse than somebody who does have those things. I don't know. And then it's like, okay, but what if you show up to a relationship being traumatized because you didn't have access to certain things? Does it mean that you are less deserving of romantic love than somebody who has had access to those things? I don't know, guys. It's really tricky and really complicated. But that's why that phrase doesn't make sense to me, because it can be applicable to some situations and not applicable to others because it's giving disenfranchisement, right? I don't know, like a bit of institutionalized racism, a bit of like lots of isms that are out of an individual's control, but that we are like layering on to something. The world is complicated. And I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that it's muddy, and if it's that muddy, then the phrase doesn't actually make sense. That reminds me of the phrase that used to be swimming around TikTok of every people pleaser is a manipulator. Because if we look at the field of psychology, if we look on that definition, manipulation is intentional. That is what separates manipulation from other kinds of harm. Manipulation is intentional. Manipulation is based on tactic. It's based on having a goal of controlling somebody. And every time somebody is a people pleaser, it's not rooted in wanting to control the other person. Sometimes it's based on fawning, which is a trauma response. Sometimes it's based on wanting to survive in an environment where you are the minority. Sometimes it's based on past trauma of having to shrink yourself in order to not get abused, in order to not get inflicted violence on. It's like, guys, can we please have some kind of nuance in these spaces? I beg of you, nuance. Please, I beg. Anyway, people are complicated. And honestly, it is a beautiful moment when you recognize that you can be imperfect and someone still love you. It's also incredibly healing. Being autistic, I used to have a warped idea of what friendship was. I used to think that it was a competition of who was the best kind of person, and if you're the best kind of person, people want to be your friend. But the thing about friendship is a lot of it is about vulnerability. For me, at least, being free from your own self-criticism and your own safety box, you can be exposed. But being free means being exposed. Someone can see a character flaw of yours without you catching it first. And that's scary. We are all insecure babies, and I say that with compassion. A baby is deserving of care, right? Of softness, of forgiveness. A baby gets to mess up. Why do we feel the need to punish ourselves forever? Forever? Now, this is a caveat to the people who've abused people in the past and never apologized, or, people who just don't want to face someone they've harmed because they're scared of having to face the consequences of their actions, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to, and it's never too late to apologize. You shouldn't punish yourself forever, but also, it's never too late to apologize. I sincerely believe that. It's never too late to apologize. I realize too that we tend to punish others in similar ways that we punish ourselves. Someone not wanting to befriend you or be in a relationship means they don't have the capacity to give you what you need. I wish we would stop punishing people for not having the capacity to give us what we need. Honestly, that's a waste of energy on our part. I almost fell into this trap where I villainized everyone who didn't enthusiastically pursue me either in friendship or otherwise, that feels good, right? To say, I'm better than you, to people who we feel rejected by, right? Frankly, we get so used to the rejection as neurodivergent people that we avoid that feeling of inadequacy at all costs. In reality, you wouldn't want them in your life either. Because someone in your life who doesn't have the capacity to give you what you need is either going to harm you or harm themselves. Unequal partnership. But that's all friendship is, right? It's a partnership in that phase of life, however long that phase is. Generally, I think we need to take better care of each other. And my personal philosophy and goal is in every interaction to leave the person better than the way I found them. It's just a me thing. It's not an everybody thing, and I have to realize that. Still struggling realizing that. Sometimes I succeed and sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's because I don't have the capacity to, and sometimes it's because I just don't want to, because I'm human. But I wonder what would happen if, when people hurt us, we're able to understand that most of the time, people really are working with what they have, what they know, and what they have the capacity for. Sometimes the best is good enough for you, and sometimes it's not. So how do we deal with this self-care individualism phase? My answer that I come up with is to lean into the messiness of self-growth. It's not uncommon for people to only be in community with people who make them feel comfortable and who make them feel joy constantly. That's not irregular. I understand that people generally don't engage with things or ideas or people who challenge their core beliefs. But who you are surrounded with can literally change your life. So I encourage you, whether you're sensitive to rejection, anxious about showing your flaws, or otherwise traumatized by relationships, which on some level includes literally everybody, trust. People might surprise you. All right, that's all the time I have for today. You can get the extended version of this video if you become a patron. Uploading a new video tonight. Stay tuned. Like, share, and subscribe, and stay weird. All right, bye.